This is the WellFounder Podcast.
So welcome to the show, Matt. It's an absolute pleasure having you on today.
Yeah, thanks, Javi. Yeah, thanks for making me a part of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm really enjoying my chats with lots of experts on this show. You wouldn't realize there's so many different experts solving different problems for so many different niches. So
Yeah.
and yours is another area when we're going to be talking about something super important today, and that is super interesting. You talk about the disc profiling, which is something to do to help founders manage their teams better, which is something I know a lot of founders struggle with, but you're going to clarify and give us more insight on that. But before we do, I always like to kick off by, allowing my guests, tell us a little bit more about you, what you do, and how you go into that work.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Javi. So we are Barefoot Trainers. So at its core, Barefoot Trainers is a leadership development organization. So we deliver really high quality training and coaching across a wide range of leadership and interpersonal skills, such as disc profiling that you've already mentioned. We have offices in Surrey and Lancashire and have over 30 years experience in leadership and management training and many more years in learned experience working in practice with companies and organizations and leading teams. But ultimately, Chavi, we're people. We're a family-run business. We're a small organization. Our approach is innovative, engaging, and most importantly, fun as well. That's really important to us. We're really passionate about empowering individuals to embrace change and achieve their goals and their team goals. And we love what we do.
I really like that. I like the whole fun aspect of it because I've been to some trainings before when I used to work corporate, and they were not fun. they used to drag all that stuff. But I appreciate when the trainers make it more fun and more engaging. So that is very
you got to keep it engaging. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you got to make it fun because otherwise people will come away with it and not embrace the really valuable and relevant information that you've been able to share with them. We want people to have fun. And we want to enjoy what we do as well. So, fun's an important word within our vocabulary.
I love it. And how did you've been at this for 30 years, you said, as a company, I'm guessing, but how did you yourself get into this?
Yeah, so my experience is learned and practical experience, teamed up with other leaders and family members within the company. So my mum, for example, is the MD of the business. I refer to her as Louise, not mum, in day-to-day business. But my background is working with multiple MNCs, predominantly in North America and the Caribbean. So I was based in California for 10 years, working within publishing, but the luxury hospitality sector. So producing magazines and other print and digital materials for hotel brands like the Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, Four Seasons. Nice. And my focus has always been business development and sales and managing those teams, but before that, take to market strategy and research and quite conceptual kind of planning and processing, take to market strategy, and then of course managing what comes after that. So yeah, as I say, working probably across the last 15 years, managing sales teams. And business development teams. And then on the other side of it is the actual hardcore leadership and management training. So we have team leaders within our organization that implement that training with our partners and our companies. And then we also have a really big network of affiliate trainers that reach that right standard for Barefoot Trainers and can deliver training across a wide variety of industries. So they're kind of we can be very specific in our coaching and our training to that industry and based on the client's needs.
I love that. That allows you guys to scale. In my very very interesting. Because I was thinking while we were chatting before recording, where you said you worked with a variety of industries, I was thinking I was gonna ask, are you physically gonna be present there, or is this a remote thing, or how does that work with you guys?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
both.
Okay.
Obviously, technology is wonderful these days,
Yeah.
as we found. But I mean, we love delivering training in person. That
Mm.
would be our choice, Javi, every single time. It's far more collaborative and engaging and more fun. But yeah, we've got to embrace technology and we've got to have that flexibility for companies as well. Sometimes it's not as much of a commitment to them
Mm.
to perhaps take their entire sales team off the phones or off the floor to
Mm.
come and spend time with us, as valuable as that time is, of course, spent with Barefoot Trainers. But yeah, we leverage technology where we can. Things like check-ins and follow-ups to embed that learning. We would engage with people through Zoom. If they just have questions or top-up sessions, we can do that embracing technology. But the core of those training sessions are in person.
Mm.
Leveraging our network, we can deliver practically training, up and down the country, wherever they happen to be. So we're coming to them.
Very, very cool. That is so cool. And what types of companies do you work with, and at what stage, or what would make a company want to hire you, basically? Actually, let's
Yeah.
start with what type of companies, and then we talk about the other one.
Oh, we've got such a broad application when it comes to industries. We can work with, well, it's anybody that works as a team can benefit from understanding themselves more, but also how to more efficiently communicate
Mm.
with their team. So yeah, we work with construction companies, we work with financial businesses, we work with care home facilities
Mm.
and nurseries, so two ends of the spectrum there.
Wow.
We work within the hospitality sector,
Wow.
so we work with hotels. Yeah, essentially any industry that's working with a team and any department within that can benefit from this leadership and management training that we implement. Um, yeah.
That is so cool. And I guess you're training. Are you training the leader, or are you training the leader and the team to work together, or how
Both,
does that?
yeah. Yeah, both. So
Interesting.
we would obviously start by working with a business to understand where the areas of opportunities are within that company. And there's obviously or typically a reason that's led them to reach
Mm.
out to us and have a conversation. And we would entirely tailor make our training plan, and that's certainly a unique selling point of Barefoot Trainers, but we would tailor that training plan in order to achieve those results. And obviously, we would fairly establish what success looks like from these training programs. Part of that might be teamwork and collaboration. Part of that might be communication. Part of that might be, resolving conflict, or having difficult conversations or dealing with stress in the workplace. So obviously that has an impact on the team, and we would work with the team on those skill sets, but also from a leadership perspective. And we'll talk about this, but identifying their own kind of core traits and behaviors, and identifying that's in others to more effectively lead their team and get the most out of them as well.
I can see how valuable such a service could be. Also, you guys could be, especially for my own audience, which are basically B2B founders. So they're basically leading their team, and it's not always this well-oiled machine. So
Yeah.
there's gonna have patches here and there. And you mentioned some issues that could arise where they're like, you know what, I need to get somebody on board. Could you actually talk about Disc now? Which Disc
Yeah,
profile
sure.
is that a proprietary thing? Is that your thing, or is that a broad?
No, no,
Okay,
it's something really well established.
okay,
So it was a famed psychologist, Dr. William Marston, that established it in 1928.
okay.
But a great question. So DISC Disc profiling is essentially a behavioral assessment tool, not a psychometric test or
Mm,
anything like that. It's a
yeah.
behavioral assessment tool. And it helps us to understand how people tend to behave and their preferred leadership and communication styles
Mm,
as well. So it's a really valuable tool for individuals, but more so in a team setting as well. So as I say, it was established by William Marston, um, and it basically he acknowledged that we're all different, but we're all predictably different, and that's the key underlining factor. So you may have guessed, but DISC, DISC, is an acronym. So it stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness,
mm,
which is difficult to say. And while we're all a blend of all of these things and they were all relevant to us, there will be more prevalent traits in each of us.
mm,
Okay. And DISC looks to identify what those are. So as we begin to unpick that and solve the people puzzle, as we like to say at Barefoot Trainers, it excuse me, it helps us to identify those patterns in ourselves, but in others too. And therefore, that can help improve how we work together, resolve conflicts, build strong relationships. And therefore, it has a really broad range of applications for things like uh, recruiting, productivity, culture, retention, and everything else that comes with it. So, really powerful for founders, right? Um, I'd say the best part about DISC by comparison to other psychometric tools or behavioral assessment tools, because there are others available, certainly. But the best part about DISC is that it's actually just a 7-minute question and answer.
mm.
Obviously, there's no wrong answer, but it's really quick. Off the back of that, it's a 17-page report, which is scary accurate. It's reported at 90 to 95%, but you would read this report and think someone had handcrafted it for you specifically. So the point is it's very quick and easy, and fun, and an easy way to get a good grasp of your own behavioral traits, as well as that of your team as well.
That is so cool. I love when they have the tools like this that kind of just brings everything full circle. Basically, you have something visual like this, and then you find out where you fit in that. Really cool. And why is this important for founders now? Why, say, a founder of a 50 team SaaS
Yeah,
company?
exactly. Yeah, it's super important for development and growth. Essentially, there's a wide variety of reasons, but I would put it down to fundamentally development and growth. For founders, disc profiling is it's just one of those tools that delivers across the board, Chavi. So first and foremost, it helps you understand your own leadership style, and that's
Mm,
really important. So as a founder, your personality drives the early culture of your company,
mm,
right? So if you're highly dominant, perhaps, like I identify as dominant, you might be pushing for speed and results. But if
mm,
you've hired people who are more steady or conscientiousness driven, that
mm,
intensity could absolutely cause friction or burnout or staff turnover or something of that nature. So if you don't understand how you naturally communicate or perhaps make decisions, it's very easy to misinterpret how others respond, or to assume they should operate the same way that you do, perhaps. So this helps founders play to their strengths but also adapt where necessary because it's not all about adaptation. You've got to play to your strengths, but understanding that in others. So, as a company scales with, say, adding mid-level management through to C-suite or continue to onboard people, discs are really incredibly useful tool for building complementary teams.
mm.
So what I find is that founders often unconsciously hire people that are like them because you gravitate towards people that are like you, which sounds great in theory. Practice, it can absolutely lead to gaps. So, again, going back to the example, if you're a high D, you may overlook the need for someone with those C traits, someone that's meticulous and process driven and focus on mitigating risk for your business. Of course, as a result of this, there's a lot of tangents I could go on about, like job satisfaction, as I said, and burnout. But essentially, DISC is going to help you ask, where am I strong? It's very inward reflecting. Where do I need balance? And who thinks differently from me? How can I empower them to be really, really good at their job, which is going to help drive my business? So those are all really important traits, but DISC also creates a shared language around behavior when everyone understands DISC. It's not an excuse to say, oh, well, I identify as dominant, so that's my behavioral tendencies. Everyone gets over it. Get over it. It's not my fault. But it does mean that it's not personal, it's behavioral. And that removes that personal element. So you're attacking the problem, not the person. So that's really powerful when you're scaling, onboarding new team members, or perhaps even giving feedback to existing members. And it moves that conversation away from why you like this, Chavi, why you like this, to that's how you're wired, and that's and here's how we can perhaps collaborate to achieve those results. So that's kind of in a nutshell, from a founder's perspective, why it's so important.
That is so cool, and it makes me think now that this is actually something that needs to happen at the even before the company is formed, even like so that you know how to hire better and lead your. Would you agree
Yeah.
with that, or is it something that could
Yeah,
be
totally.
applied?
I come across companies
Yeah.
all the time that have very embedded disk
Oh,
programs. Google, for example,
okay.
I was working with them recently to review my Google business performance, and
Mm.
they said, "Oh, you do disk trading. Google make us do that every 6 months." And there was another large company. I don't mind saying Google, but the other company I probably shouldn't mention. But they have a very large intern program or apprenticeship program, like
Mm.
degree apprenticeship program. And it's my neighbor's son that's recently applied for this and got it. And he came to me saying, "Oh, they're making us do DISC as part of the onboarding program."
Mm.
And that's just at the degree apprenticeship level. And not
Mm.
to belittle what that is, but that's, obviously young people entering the world of working.
Mm.
So it's got a really broad application, and you're right in what you're saying. It should be foundational in a business.
Really cool. And leads me to the next question now. Say a founder, he was just winging it, and he's found
Yeah.
himself running this 50-person company now. How can they now, I guess, retroactively, would that be the right word, to implement
Yeah.
this disk profiling and help
Yeah.
them scale, basically?
Yeah. Start working with Barefoot Trainers, I guess. No. Um, no, it's disc profiling is actually a really practical tool, and it's very easy to get started on your journey. To be honest with you, they can retrospectively come to us and start working with us on um, understanding their team better. It just starts with understanding Chavi. So, they can the sooner they get started, the better, and they'll start getting the most out of their team.
I love it. I love it. And I can see how helpful it is because of managing. Sometimes you see some teams, like I was on companies' LinkedIn and I saw, was it 10,000 plus employees? I was like, geez, how do you manage such a team as big as this? Like, so this is where something like this could help some
Yeah, and
people
and and
like
it
you
would,
can.
it would help as they continue to scale with things like decision making, for
Yeah.
example. So at its core, it helps you understand how you tend to make decisions and where you might get stuck or move too fast,
Mm.
which we've talked about. So again, using our example of the dominance, which is the easiest one for me because I identify as high D, you're probably fast, decisive, and focused on outcomes, which is great when speed matters. But it might also mean you skip over details, or don't take the time to hear other perspectives. So on the flip side of that, someone with high conscientiousness might be super thorough and data driven, but they could overanalyze and slow things down, which can be equally as frustrating to that high D. So this gives you that self-awareness, and it's like holding up a mirror, I suppose, and saying, okay, this is my default mode. How do I make sure that I'm not missing something really, really important? So yeah, it can be really fundamental in that decision-making process as well.
Love it. Matt, you've given us some really good insight into the world of disc profiling. I really like it, and it's something I'm not that big. I mean, I do work with remotely. Maybe actually that's true. This can also help with remote working, can it?
Oh, absolutely. Even more so, Chavi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
from a communication and teamwork perspective,
Hmm.
remote workers is yeah, arguably even more important.
Very interesting. Awesome. So as we wrap up now, I always like to ask for a final tip to leave our audience with. If there's one thing you could share with us that we could take away from this, what would that be?
Yeah, for me, in learned experience, but also with Barefoot Trainers, one sort of tip I would say is value your people before your processes.
Hmm.
I think that's really important. It's easy, especially when you're scaling or under pressure,
Hmm.
to focus on your systems, goals, and efficiencies, and all of those things that come with it. But a business, it doesn't run on KPIs, they run on people at the end of the day. So if your team feels seen, heard, respected, they're going to go above and beyond for the company. And if they feel like they're just a sort of a tool to hit a target, you'll start losing trust, morale, and eventually talent as you start to get that turnover in team, and then you lose that culture within the business that you've probably worked really hard to achieve. So, bringing this back to disc, it means taking that time to understand how your team works best, not just what they do, but how they do it and why.
I love it. It's a powerful way to wrap up. Value people more than your processes. That is because sometimes some people just need some extra push.
Yeah,
So a very human way. I love anything human centric. I love, especially in this age of AI, where everything is going to be very fake and automated and shit.
it's
But yeah,
crazy what's
yeah.
going on with the world, Chavi. It really is. But that's why I started off by saying at the beginning, and I can't overemphasize
Mm,
this. We're people, right? We are people. We're a family-run business and organization. People come first, and that's it.
love it. Matt, where can our viewers go learn more about you, possibly work with you? What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, for sure. So if people want to learn more, or even chat, they can go to our website, which is barefoottrainers.com. We don't sell shoes, which some people think. But there's information on there about the programs that we offer, because we focused our conversation today on leadership and management training, but we also offer executive coaching and life coaching, and other really core programs in there. So you can learn a little bit more about that, but there's some useful sort of blog articles and other resources built in for leaders. I post regularly on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all of those normal channels. So feel free to drop us a follow to keep up to date with everything going on there. But of course, if someone's ready to start their leadership journey and they want to reach out directly, I'd love to hear from you. So give us a call, drop us an email, whatever works for you.
Love it. And we're going to include all of that in the show notes. Once again, thank you so much for coming, Matt. You've been awesome today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Enjoyed it.